Do you have what it takes to create and see lasting positive change in your life? Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me today in this video. Today we're going to talk about change and the three main components it takes to see lasting change in our lives. Perhaps you find yourself in a situation where you desire change and you don't like the way things have been going and you've decided something has to change, something needs to be different. Well, stay tuned because we're going to talk about what those three key components are to initiate and create that change in your life. The first key component is desire. We must have desire to create a change in our life. The second component is commitment. This is very important. We have to decide that we want to make a specific change in our life. And last but not least, the third component is accountability. And this can come in a few different forms, and we're going to go through that in detail as we get into it. But I just wanted to give you the overview of the three components. So let's jump into the first one, desire. This one is generally pretty easy to discern whether or not you have this for change. And it's either going to be something that you feel or you don't. I want to make this change, or perhaps you're feeling pressure from someone else to make this change. It isn't necessarily something that you desire to do for yourself. So it's important to figure out, do you have the desire to change? And if you're not sure, it's a great opportunity to do a journaling exercise and see, is this something that you desire for yourself, or is it coming from an external pressure or coming from someone else? The amazing thing is that because us as humans, we have free will, we get to be powerful in the situations of our life. And we get to choose how we are going to respond to things, and we are going to choose how we are going to show up to our life and to our circumstances. We make a decision, and then we get to manage that decision, as John Maxwell would say. But again, desire is pretty simple. You have it or you don't. So we're going to move on to the second component. With commitment is something interesting because we can think about something for a long time and we may have the desire to do it, but until we make that decision, we are not managing that decision. And so, like I mentioned earlier, John Maxwell likes to say, we need to make a decision about something and then manage that decision. For example, if I commit to myself, I'm going to have exercise 3 times a week, 30 minutes a day, and I'm committing to do this. Now I just have to decide, am I going to follow through with my commitment, or am I going to shrink back and not? And there's a lot of components and stuff that go into that. But the first thing you need to do after you figure out your desire is, what are you committing to? And make that decision to change. Last but not least is accountability. And for some people, this is the big A word. They don't like to think about the idea of someone breathing down their neck, checking in on them. I understand, like I'm kind of the same way. But it's so important, whether the accountability is with yourself or with someone else, depends on your personality type, that you have a way to track and keep yourself accountable, or have someone else help keep you accountable to that commitment that you made for that change. I'm going to be doing a video in the future about the 4 tendencies. This is a concept that Gretchen Rubin came up with, and how that applies to our motivation and to our decisions in life. So when that video is made, you'll see the link for it here. In the meantime, I have a few ideas for you on how to add the accountability component to help you make lasting change in your life. The first one is external accountability. I know for me, this one probably is the biggest one. If I know that I'm going to have someone checking up on me within a week and they're going to ask me, did I do what I said I was going to do? It just somehow does something in my mind that, like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen because I know they're going to be checking up on me. So external accountability is super helpful. Another helpful thing, this may not work for everybody, is a way to track the actions or the habit that you're trying to establish in your life. And you can use a journal for this, or a calendar. So you can use whatever you'd like. I recommend paper. I like checking things off and marking complete. There's just something about that for me. I'm a tactile person. So So you need to find what works for you. But set up, and remember from step 2, you're making a decision and a commitment to something specific, right? So now we lay that out, and then we look at and we create like a form. Do you remember those charts from when you were a kid, like chore charts, or like I've completed this task, or I had this good behavior, and you get like the stars? This is like the same idea, but for adults, and to help us achieve change in our lives. So there's this idea of creating, for example, like a checkbox system for every time that you want to take action on your commitment. And then every time you do complete that action successfully, you go ahead and make an X in that box. And then the idea is that every time you make an X, it starts to make a chain, right? If you draw a bunch of X's next to each other, it makes a chain. So the idea is that you don't want to break the chain. And again, it's kind of like an internal motivation thing, but for some people it works really, really well. So I recommend that as another option. My last tip for accountability is a tool where there are some apps that are created for this, where you can put in your commitment and then you can decide what your reward is or what your punishment is if you don't follow through with that commitment. I haven't personally used any of these apps myself, but I'd be curious to know if you have and which ones that you recommend. And if you like them, feel free to mention them in the comments below and share them with our community, because we all want to learn and grow together. If you find something helpful, please share it with us. All right, so we've covered the 3 components of change: desire, commitment, and accountability. I hope you found this video interesting, informative, and helpful. And I would love just to have your dialogue. Like, feel free to post in the comments below. I'll be responding to them as much as I can. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video.